On 1st March 2019, Frontier Developments, or rather the development team on Elite Dangerous, announced their future plans for the game itself. As the Beyond series, or was it season, whatever, completed, we were all waiting for the news on the upcoming paid content and all the other things that developers did kinda hint a while back. So then, in that forum thread that you can actually read yourself, link for that will be in the description, what did they announce? Oh, and for some rather obvious reasons, I'll start with the good things first. So then, obviously we start off with the fact that they actually announced the future plans, which is something that we wanted to hear about for, well, the past 2 months. And of course, developers are telling us that they are working on something new, something grand and amazing. They obviously can't really elaborate on what this grand, big, amazing thing will be, but at least we know that this big thing, update, era, or whatever they want to call it, will be coming out on the latter part of 2020, which of course, as hinted time and time again, will be the paid content. So lifetime pass holders rejoice, in about 2 years you will have something more aside from Horizons. Of course, developers will be working hard to deliver this big content update thingamajig, whatever that may be. But as the forum thread mentions, and I quote, "We also have a smaller development team focusing on adding to and improving the existing game between now and that time." So from that you can gather that the development team is split in two. The A team working on the new big thing for the 2020, and the B team working on more regular updates, which, as the forum thread mentions, will be coming out every 3 to 4 months. And once more I'm quoting developers, the first 2 of these updates will primarily focus on new player and welcoming experiences. And I gotta say, I really like the idea. And say what you will, but Elite's welcoming experiences is not good. So seeing an improvement on that would be a really nice thing. Hey, maybe some sort of a cinematic sort of a mission. That'd be nice. Oh, and one last good thing in the announcement is about development-supported events. Probably, as you can expect, these will be the community goals, scenarios, and other things, as they mention weekly and monthly activities that will be basically changed or added to the game for a specific sort of event or whatnot else. And I think that's about it on the positive portion. Now let's get into some more meatier things, shall we? Yeah, who would have thought that it was possible? So, if you came here for the good bits, well, I've given you those. Everything after this will be less positive. So let's start with the more obvious thing. A small portion of the team, the actual Elite development team, is working on the upcoming events, and the rest of them, the majority as we assume, are working on the 2020 update. And to be honest, I'm not really surprised, because the writing was already on the wall as the Beyond was announced. The fact that it felt like a gap year, there wasn't really much happening in the whole update, and even the bigger things felt rather small and easier to develop for a small number of people. So it already seemed like the majority of the development team was working on this next big update, but we didn't really know that it was going to be in 2020. So at this point, developers are literally tipping their hand and admitting of what a lot of people already suspected, that majority of developers are really not working on the current content. But of course, due to lack of information, this is just conjecture. And you know, this announcement that in Elite Dangerous up until the end of 2020 it seems nothing big will happen seems brave. And I mean brave as in mentioning that your game has entered the maintenance phase. It's something you really don't want to do. And yeah, I understand the development is still happening, so it's technically not. But you know what? It certainly already feels like it's a maintenance phase. And you know what, this whole story kinda reminds me of Tribes Ascend. See, this particular game was quite popular for a while, and then developers just simply decided, yep, the game is not profitable anymore, so we're gonna move on to something else. And maybe later on return to this one, which admittedly they did. But what happened to Tribes Ascend? Tell me. Its community dwindled, but upon the release of the new updates, yes, people returned, but guess what? They didn't stick. And yeah, sure, it's more of an extreme case than with Elite Dangerous, but still, you're gonna feel that difference there too, because there will be some kinds of updates happening from time to time here and there. But as once more I quote developers, it is important to note that these updates will not take the same level of content or size that we have seen from our previous updates in Beyond or Horizons, as the majority of development team will be focusing on the new era. And you know, those of you that are in financial sector and probably read a couple of reports here and there, you might have seen this stuff already as a writing on the wall. As a matter of fact, I've heard that even Frontier themselves have expected massive drops, comparably of course, in 2019. Then quite a bit of uproar in 2020, and again, drop in 2021. But before I bore you with some financial things that I've heard, there is something to be said about the announcement as a whole. So this approach to actually announce that the game's gonna have nothing new for slightly less than 2 years is a really bad PR move, which in my mind no sane presenter, PR leader or otherwise would announce, and would rather try to scurry around. And to me this hints to a little glimpse of genuine honesty, even if it is wrapped in self-masturbatory rhetoric. I mean, seriously, how many times in that post can you humble brag about how good your product is? Still, to me it looks like the team is scheduled to make something really good, and I am certainly more, I guess, hopeful about it than I would without this announcement piece. But then I chatted with a few different folks, including content creators, and a rather alarming idea sprouted wings. So tell me, why 2020? What's so special about that particular year? Well, if you're not like me and you do pay attention to the wider gaming industry, you might have kinda heard these Xbox things and PlayStation things having new versions coming out that particular year too. And apparently these peasant boxes will be capable of doing VR gaming with their own peripherals and so on and so forth. And guess which game too is getting an update in that particular year too? Any guesses? Any guesses at all? So yeah, you can guess that, oh, maybe developers are making space legs or atmospheric landings or so on and so forth. But frankly, I'll leave you to your own conclusions. But for now, I can only present the information I've dug up. And maybe you found this information very interesting to listen to. The only thing that I can say right now for sure is that those financial reports do paint some grim pictures. And honestly, I wish it would be different, but here you go.